Good morning and welcome to our very first episode of Perfecting the Saints and Edifying the Body. This is your host, James D. Holliday Sr. Hope that everyone has had a phenomenal weekend so far and that your Monday morning is off to a good start. Want to just preference this podcast by saying this. I want to really be a blessing and to encourage all of those who will partake of these podcasts live or via replay. So do me a favor, help me to extend my reach. I want you to share the broadcast on your various social media platforms. If you're on Twitter with us, retweet this. If you're on YouTube, make sure you subscribe to the channel, like the broadcast, and share it. And if you are trekking with us on Facebook, do me a favor. Don't just love it, but put it in someone else's reach so they can love it as well by sharing the broadcast. I want to direct your attention real quickly to John chapter 5, verses 2 through 9. It says, now there is a pool in the sheep market in Jerusalem, which is called in the Hebrew tongue Bethesda, having 5 porches. In these lay a great multitude of impotent folk, of blind, halt, withered, and those who were waiting for the moving of the water. For an angel went down at a certain time in a certain season into the pool, and by the troubling of the water, whosoever then first after the troubling of the water stepped in was made whole of whatsoever disease he had. And a certain man was there. Pay special attention to that. A certain man was there, which had an infirmity 38 years. And when Jesus saw him lying, he knew that he had been now a long time in that case. He said unto him, wilt thou be made whole? The impotent man answered, Sir, I have no man when I desire to get into the water to put me in the pool. But a while I'm coming, another steppeth down before me. Jesus said unto him, Rise, take up thy bed and walk. And immediately the man was made whole and took up his bed and walked. And on the same day was the Sabbath. Today, I want to deal with codependency and enemy of destiny. Codependency and enemy of destiny. What I've learned about the provision of our Heavenly Father is that it is activated when we become totally dependent on Him as our only source. So in order for the provisions of God and the divine providence of God, for us to tap into the fullness of that, we've got to totally relinquish all reliance on other sources. Here we see the opening of our text. It deals with the Pool of Bethesda, which was a popular place in Jerusalem that had 5 porches, and they were known for miracle moments. Those who shared common issues or common struggles, they congregated there on a regular basis. You know, crowds of physically, mentally, and emotionally dysfunctional people came out to hang out and camp out on these porches. They were waiting for the water to be troubled, hoping that they would be healed. Let me start with point number 1. If you're going to break the cycle of codependency, the first thing you have to do is adjust your surroundings. There has to be an adjustment to your surroundings. Let me encourage you by saying this: stop gravitating to places where everybody is needy. Okay, you cannot make it a custom. You cannot make it a continuous practice in your own personal life to gravitate to places where everyone is needy. All right. Normally, when there's a need in a person's life, it's almost natural to be drawn to places where people who congregate can relate. All right. When you're dealing with something, when you're facing something, it's almost instinctive to want to be around people who can relate to what you're going through, who have an idea of what you're going through, or who can tap into what you're going through. But truth be told, when dealing with certain dilemmas or personal issues, you need someone who can go deeper than just being able to relate. I've had some things transpire in my life, and I needed someone that can go beyond just feeling where I was coming from, or could just simply relate to where I was at a particular time in life. You need viable sources in your life that can discern and release something that can help you break through, even if it hurts, even if it offends, and even if it disrupts your comfort zone. The text says that there was a large number of impotent folk, a large number of blind people, and a large number of people that were halt. That word impotent, it literally means to be weak. It means to be diseased. So this would give credence to the fact that these people, the majority of these people that were there, they were limited in their capacity. To be blind, literally means to be without sight. So a large number of these people that were hanging out at this pool, they had no vision. And then you had a large number of people that were halt, which means to be crippled. They were limited in their ability. Um, Even withered, it makes reference of withered people that were withered. It means to be shrunken. It means to be dry. So they had an inability to produce. And for 38 years, this man with this condition, he chose to go and hang out in a place where people had limited ability, people had no vision, people had limited capacity, and people were crippled. That's interesting. That's interesting. I'm of the opinion that he was drawn to this place because everyone there shared something in common. There was a there was a there was an issue. There was a deficit in their life. And based on the people's condition, it would be safe to say that not only did they need help at the pool, but they had to need help getting to the pool. And that's where the codependency comes into play. And I'm sure the people that helped them get to the pool were all well-meaning individuals, and had to have wanted the best for their friend or their colleague to help them get to the pool. So codependency can start out with good intentions, but often becomes toxic when the dependent becomes addicted to people, places, and things that don't align with the guaranteed solution. The second thing that you must do if you're going to break the cycle of codependency, you got to elevate your circle. Stop gravitating to individuals who are just like you or are doing worse than you. Okay, if everybody in the crowd is needy, then I highly doubt if anyone's needs are being met. You need some people in your life that are going to challenge you to rise above your condition. So you need people with vision, you need people with capacity, and you need people who are able to discern and also be able to serve as some form of a resource to get you in a position to become better than what you are. The danger of dysfunction accelerates when the common ground is the dysfunction and not a solution. Breakthrough is often birthed in environments that are void of co-signers, enablers, and false confirmation. You don't need someone to co-sign for you when you're trying to break through. You don't need someone to serve as an enabler when you're trying to break through. You don't need false confirmation when you're trying to break through. Sometimes God will ordain a relationship that challenges your dysfunction until you break through. He'll send people, he'll assign people, he'll connect you with people whose sole purpose in your life is to challenge your dysfunction and help you break through. Could it be that it's not in the encouragement? It may be in that hard word where they tell you to get yourself together. It may not be in them telling you it's going to be okay. It might be in that hard word that tells you you need to do something about this. It's not going to always be in God's got this. It might be in the fact that they tap into something that has been laying dormant inside of you that'll help you push through, press through, and break through. The fourth verse says, "For an angel went down at a certain season into the pool and troubled the water. Whosoever then was first to get in after the troubling of the water was made whole of whatever disease they had." The third thing I want to tell you as it relates to breaking the cycle of codependency, you've got to value your time. Sometimes when you become codependent on people, places, and things that serve as your source, you lose track of and you lose value for time. You've got to, if you're going to break the cycle of codependency, you've got to value your time. You got to embrace the fact that you might not get another season. You might not get another season. The worst thing you can convince yourself that you have more of, and that is time. We don't have time. We have opportunities. And it says that this angel went down at a certain season. That term or that phrase season comes from the Greek word kairos. And it means an occasion. It means a set time. And it was for a short while. The text says, whosoever got in first after the water was troubled, they are the ones that got the miracle. They were the ones that were made whole. They understood that they had to seize the moment. They had to seize the opportunity that was given to them because they may not get another chance. And I don't know who I'm talking to directly, but I want to encourage you to seize the moment. Don't take the risk. Don't take the gamble. Time is not guaranteed, but opportunities, when they present themselves, you've got to seize the moment. The next thing you've got to understand if you're going to break the cycle of codependency is never compete for things that God has promised you. Never ever compete for things that God has promised you. His word goeth forth out of his mouth. It accomplishes everything he sends it out to accomplish. It prospers where he sends it, and it does not return void. If God said it, he will make good on it. He's not a man that he should lie, neither is he the son of man that he should repent. So we should not be competing for things that God has promised to us. Sometimes you got to be fine with pursuing what you need from the Lord differently than everyone else. Okay, don't get in a rat race. Don't get in this rat race where you're pursuing what God has promised you. You're pursuing what you believe the heart of God is, but you're doing it the same way everyone else is. Get comfortable. Become fine and totally content with pursuing what you need from God differently than everyone else. And the last thing that you've got to do if you're going to break the cycle of codependency, you got to change your perspective and perception of where you are currently in life. You got to see where you are differently. You got to see how you are differently. You got to see who you are differently. Understand, you may have missed a turn in life, but you did not miss your time in life. This is a season, and this is an opportune time for you to grab hold to the things of God and become the best version of you that you possibly can. Verse 6 says, Jesus saw him lying there. Jesus saw him lying there. That word saw in this context, it means to consider. Jesus saw him, he considered his situation, and he knew that this man had been like this a long time. And he asked him, do you want to get well? That's all he wanted to know. Do you want to get well? But the man responds, sir, I have no one when I make my way to put me in the pool after the water is troubled. This is prime confirmation that people have become this man's source. See, when you're codependent, you have no problem with shifting the blame. Nothing's ever your fault. This man said, look, it's not my fault that I'm still in this situation. It's people's fault because they're never around when I need them. He was so consumed by his condition that he didn't even recognize who he was talking to. The text says that Jesus asked this man, do you want to get well? The man responds to Jesus, sir. So that confirms the fact that he had absolutely no idea of who was talking to him and who was presenting him with the opportunity to become the best version of him. He had become so consumed to his help coming a different way. And that's another thing that codependency does. It locks you into a one track frame of thinking that it can, if it's going to happen, it's only going to happen this way. He was so codependent that he had no problem shifting accountability. He said, I don't have anyone to help me to get in the pool. In his mind, it's people's fault that he was still in that condition. He was so codependent that he said, if this thing is going to happen for me, it's people are going to be the source. People are going to be the source of this happening. Jesus never asked him why he was how he was. He asked him if he wanted deliverance. When you live a life with limitations and you're codependent, you tend to blame others for your current position in life. And that's an excuse. We all know the excuses are crippling. They're an easy way out for individuals who become comfortable with their condition. I want to give you three dangers of codependency, and I'm going to let you go. Number one, codependency, it delays your deliverance. People become your source. Number two, codependency, it paralyzes your potential. Everything that God has placed in you that was ordained from the beginning of time for you to be the best version of you, it becomes neutralized when you become codependent. You put your gifts, your abilities, and your capacity on hold to tap into someone else's resources, and you become codependent. You lose sight of the greater one that's on the inside of you. 1 John 4:4 says, we are of God. We have overcome the world, and greater is he that is in us than he that is in the world. Ephesians 3:20 says, now to him that is able to do exceeding abundantly above all that we can ask or think, according to the power that worketh on the inside of us. So there's a divine investment on the inside of us. But when we become codependent, we paralyze the potential, and we lose sight of the greater one on the inside of us. The third thing that codependency does, it blurs your vision. You see things through the eyes of those who you have made your source. Verse 8, Jesus gave the man three simple instructions that changed his life radically. He says, rise, take up your bed, and walk. When he told him to rise, that's a prophetic picture of repositioning yourself. You've got to reposition yourself. Take up your bed and walk. Take up your bed, that's a prophetic picture of restructuring what you have in your possession. If you're going to break this cycle, you got to reposition yourself. You've got to restructure what you have in your possession. Sometimes it's not about getting something new, something different, something fresh, or more of something. It may be just in the wisdom and in the capacity to restructure what you already have in your possessions. Then he told him to walk. He told him to relocate. That can be taken literally or figuratively. He told him to get out and get away from your current setting. Sometimes it's just as simple as changing your surroundings. Because codependency always makes it seem as if it's going to take something drastic for you to get what you need in a particular season. When in actuality, what you get from the Father sometimes is tied simply to your response to him. The text says, immediately the man was made whole. Today is the day I declare over you that the cycles and the patterns of codependency end. The Lord still wants to know one simple thing. Do you want your situation better? And if you do, let me challenge you with these three instructions. Reposition yourself, restructure what you got, and walk. Get out of your current setting and allow God to do what he intends to do in your life. This has been today's podcast with your host, James Durrell Holiday Sr., perfecting the saints and edifying the body. Hope you were blessed. Have a great week, and we'll touch bases with you real soon. Thanks for joining, and God bless you.